Thank you for joining us for this overview of the 2026-27 competition for ACLS fellowships offered by the American Council of Learned Societies. This video presentation offers a brief introduction to ACLS, guidance on ACLS's peer review process, a review of the primary components of an ACLS fellowship application, and tips and strategies for composing a strong application. Let's get started. First, an introduction to the American Council of Learned Societies. ACLS is a private, non-profit federation of 86 learned societies in the humanities and humanistic social sciences, including both larger disciplinary associations as well as subdisciplinary and interdisciplinary associations that support tens of thousands of scholars working across all fields of humanistic inquiry. ACLS is over 100 years old, and in that time, the Council has launched initiatives that advance research and field building, as well as direct support for scholars, public engagement, and system change in higher education. This diverse and evolving portfolio of work follows ACLS's twofold mission. One, the advancement of humanistic studies in all fields of learning, and two, the maintenance and strengthening of relations among the national societies devoted to those studies. In the 2025 competition year, ACLS offered a number of distinct fellowship and grant opportunities that supported scholars working in various fields of the humanities and humanistic social sciences, from advanced graduate students to early career PhDs to senior scholars. Across all our various programs in the 2025 competition cycle, ACLS provided more than $25 million in support to over 440 awardees selected from over 3,000 applications. Our fellowship and grant making is made possible through the contributions of peer reviewers in the selection of our fellows and grantees. We drew on the expertise of over 600 scholars working across the entire landscape of higher education and beyond. Over the past decades, the ACLS Fellowship Program has supported thousands of scholars pursuing research in the humanities and humanistic social sciences. The program welcomes applications on topics grounded in any time period, world region, or humanistic methodology. We aim to select fellows who are broadly representative of the variety of humanistic scholarship across all fields of study. Programs funded by ACLS's endowment and includes a number of named awards made possible by generous donors to ACLS. ACLS fellowships are designed to give scholars pursuing work on a major scholarly project 6 to 12 months of time to advance their research project. Our definition of what a major scholarly project entails is capacious, including books, articles, digital projects, scholarly resources like critical editions and concordances, and publicly engaged research. If you have questions about the eligibility of your project, we encourage you to review ACLS's call for applications and program FAQ page. The stipend for these fellowships will range from $30,000 to $60,000 or $5,000 a month, depending on the length of the award term selected by the applicant. The eligibility requirements for this program evolve over time, and for the 2026-27 application cycle, the program has the following criteria. First, applicants should be U.S. citizens, permanent residents, Indigenous individuals residing in the United States through rights associated with the Jay Treaty of 1794, DACA recipients, asylees, refugees, or individuals granted temporary protected status in the United States. In addition, foreign nationals who have been living in the United States or U.S. territories for 3 or more years immediately before the application deadline are also eligible, provided that they do not establish permanent residence outside the United States during the period of the fellowship. Second, applicants must have earned a PhD in the humanities or social sciences and that degree must be officially conferred by the university no later than the published application deadline. Please note that if you do not have a PhD, but you are an established scholar who can demonstrate the equivalent of a PhD in publications and research experience, you should contact ACLS at fellowships@acls.org to determine if you're eligible for this year's competition. Third, applicants must be prepared to devote 6 to 12 months to full-time research and/or writing during the award period, which would have to begin at some point between July 1st, 2027 and July 1st, 2028, and should be completed no later than December 31st, 2028. We do offer some flexibility to awardees in how they can spend their research leave over this eligible window, and we encourage applicants to review the language on our call for application page and program FAQ page for more information. We also offer additional flexibility to scholars who hold contingent faculty positions. Now we will take a brief look at the program's application and peer review process. When putting together a proposal, it is important to think about audience. Your ideas matter, and how you present them matters too. We encourage applicants to bear in mind ACLS's peer review process when putting together the applications, and to consider how you can best articulate the problems you're tackling, your research questions, the stakes of your research, and your plans for research, writing, and dissemination. The ACLS Fellowship Program uses a multi-stage review process. First, after you submit an application, program staff review your application to ensure that it is complete and eligible according to this year's guidelines, and that it meets the formatting requirements spelled out in our call for applications. Please pay close attention to these formatting requirements, as they may change from year to year. If you have exceeded page limits or ignored other formatting requirements, your application may be deemed ineligible and held back from review. Once that initial screening is done, your application is read by 3 peer reviewers in a first round of review. Typically, these reviewers are within your field, and many will be specialists in the particular method or methods, time period, and geography that your work explores. We assign reviewers to your application based on the information you provide in your proposal, the fields of study you're working in, the methods you employ in your research, and your bibliography. That means you should be especially careful in your claims of impact, or if you're claiming interdisciplinarity. If you tell us that your work engages with the scholarly literature and discourses in, say, history and anthropology, we will assign reviewers from both fields to your application, and your work will be evaluated according to the principles of those fields. After this first round has been completed, based on the results, a set of the top reviewed applications advances to a second and final round of review. As opposed to the first round, the finalist applications are read and evaluated by one of the program's multi- and interdisciplinary selection committees that consists of 4 members. A committee might include a classicist, a sociologist, a musicologist, and a historian, and this group will read a diverse set of applications before a day-long meeting to select a set of awardees. If your application advances to this round of review, it will be assigned to one of these panels where at least one of the committee members has disciplinary expertise that overlaps with your own. If your application is in philosophy, for instance, there would be a philosopher on the selection committee reading your proposal. However, there might also be a scholar of art history, modern languages, and political science on that committee as well. This means that your charge as an applicant is to consider how you can convey the stakes of your research to this interdisciplinary audience. For one, it is important that you avoid jargon with which some of your readers may not be familiar. But in general, you should consider how you can most clearly articulate the problems you're investigating, the theories and methodologies you draw on, the preliminary findings of your work, how you will bring the project to fruition, and what impact you expect this work to have within your field and beyond. With this goal in mind, now we're going to take a look at the application components for the ACLS Fellowship and consider strategies for using each section well. Here is a brief overview. We break down these components into 3 sections. First, there's an online form that collects contact, education, and career context information. Second, there's a section where you must type or paste text into an online form that briefly summarizes your research project and explains the broader significance to an audience of interdisciplinary readers. And finally, there are materials that you will upload to the application portal, including a proposal, bibliography, your publication list, your work plan, and your personal statement. It is important to make a checklist of these items, whether they must be entered directly into the online form or uploaded later, because they are all important to our process. If you have done this in the past, please note that you have to upload each file separately now. And none of these should be left to the last minute of application. One thing to bear in mind is that the order in which you encounter questions in our application is not necessarily the same order that the reviewers will see them. For instance, although you enter your contact information, education information, and other information about your career context first, we want reviewers to pay attention first and foremost to the project you are proposing. The first items the reviewers do see are your project title, the abstract, and the second abstract that we call the broad humanistic significance statement. Given their priority in the application, we urge you not to leave these to the last minute. Log into our portal, read the prompts for these items, and make sure that you give yourself enough time to complete them. You should not, for example, simply cut and paste the first paragraph of your proposal document into the abstract field. The abstract is a concise summary of your project where you tell the reviewers what you're attempting to accomplish with your research. It is also an opportunity to briefly explain the stakes of your work. We understand that research abstracts are a genre unto themselves, and there is no one way to write them. If you need inspiration, we encourage you to draw on the hundreds of examples of abstracts you can find among the recent awardee pages on our website, www.acls.org. The second abstract that you must write is the broader humanistic significance statement. This abstract gives you the opportunity to describe your project in terms that can connect with the multidisciplinary selection committee. Your project does not need to be interdisciplinary to succeed in an ACLS competition, but it does need to convey clearly the stakes of your work to someone who might not be familiar with your work grounded in your particular time period, geography, or methodology. In the broad humanistic significance statement, you should consider the portability of your ideas and arguments. How can you offer non-specialists in your field an understanding of the significance and the impact that your work will have? ACLS offers some resources on our website that can help you consider how to convey the significance and the stakes of your work to reviewers. We'll review those resources at the close of this presentation. Now we'll take a look at the set of application components that you as an applicant must upload through our portal. These components, the proposal narrative, bibliography, list of publications, project work plan, and statement of intellectual trajectory, are all intended to give you the opportunity to articulate the intellectual basis of your research, the shape of your project, and your capacity to execute this project. It is important to remember that you are proposing a project, not just a set of captivating problems, questions, or findings. When putting together these materials, you should consider how your application demonstrates how a fellowship from ACLS and the time and resources it provides you will intervene in and advance a research project that has a beginning, middle, and end. We'll look at each of these components briefly. The proposal narrative is the central component of your application. In the space allotted to you for this document, you should convey to the reviewers what the intellectual basis of your work is, the relevance of your research within your field or fields, the intervention you hope to make and its impact, and how you plan to complete this work and in what form. If you envision writing a monograph, for instance, how might that come together? Are you proposing to complete the manuscript during the fellowship? If so, you might want to include the chapter structure in the proposal. If your research is at an earlier, more exploratory stage, how will the research you conduct contribute to a longer-term plan for completion and dissemination of your research project? The application asks for a 2-page bibliography. We realize that this can only be a portion of the full bibliographic basis of your project, so we encourage you to select key resources like primary and secondary and list them here. Whose work are you building upon, and with whom are you in significant agreement or disagreement? As you put the document together, consider how it will substantiate your proposed interventions to the reviewers. You may use any standard citation style in this document. We also ask you to submit a list of your publications. Please remember there is no minimum number of publications that will make you competitive for an award. This list can represent the range of publications that you feel are relevant to your career as a scholar, and it may include peer-reviewed publications, invited contributions, writing for scholarly or broader public audiences, and it may also include items that are published or under various stages of review by a publisher. The work plan is a document that explains what you plan to do during the fellowship term. This is an important moment of communication with the reviewers, a way to demonstrate that this research is part of a significant project, not just a series of questions, problems, or ideas. As you put together this document, make sure you are creating a plan of work that is ambitious but feasible in every respect. When reviewers are deciding among many worthy proposals, they want to know that a scholar will fully take advantage of the time and resources that the fellowship provides and will use them wisely. You may include any steps or activities that you will undertake to advance the project. Will you be workshopping parts of your research at a conference or another scholarly meeting? Will you be working with a collaborator, accessing archival or other primary sources, conducting fieldwork or interviews? How and when will those happen in the sequence of your work plan? If you're submitting materials to an external body or publisher for review, how long will these take? These details authenticate your plan of action to the reviewers. We also ask you to submit a short personal statement that explains your intellectual trajectory. There's no one correct way to write the personal statement, but the statement ideally will provide the committee with additional context about you as a scholar or how you have come to work on this project. What kinds of personal, scholarly, professional commitments animate your work? How have those factors influenced your trajectory and brought you to the research questions you're asking now? You may use AI tools such as Claude or ChatGPT to write your application. However, It is the responsibility of each applicant to ensure that all content in their proposal is factual and that they have properly acknowledged and referenced all sources. As the applicant, you are responsible for any errors, omissions, hallucinations, or acts of plagiarism in your application. We encourage you to indicate in your application if and how you used AI assistance for full transparency. Please add no more than one sentence at the end of your proposal. Now I want to highlight some resources for applicants available on ACLS's website. These resources include pages with our program guidelines and frequently asked questions, or FAQ, and access to virtual office hours where you can meet with and ask questions of program officers. You may sign up for those office hours via a link on the Call for Applications page on our website. We also provide many profiles and abstracts of past awarded project and essays and advice on writing applications. I'll end with a quick summary of some of the tips and strategies discussed during this presentation. First, read through ACLS's call for applications and online materials at your earliest possible convenience. You should also log into our online application system, ofa@acls.org, so that you can get a sense of the questions and fields required as part of your application. It can be helpful to create a checklist of required components. Every piece of application counts. Do not leave the abstract or the broad humanistic significance statement to the last minute. The questions we ask about fields of inquiry, geographic areas, work history, and more, they all matter to our peer review process. They help us assign the right reviewers and avoid potential conflict of interest. Remember, our application asks you to propose a project with a beginning, middle, and end, not just an interesting research question or problem. This program funds projects at all stages of development, from initial research to final aspects of research and write-up. The proposal should demonstrate how a fellowship will significantly advance your work and move you towards the final completion of the project, even if that will happen sometime after the fellowship ends. We understand that fellowships can be long-term investments, but you should convince the selection committee that you have the capacity to make this research pay off. Use the space of your proposal wisely, balance theory and evidence, and substantiate your claims in a concise manner. Your job is to demonstrate the stakes of your research clearly. Clarity is important, especially given the interdisciplinary nature of our selection committees. Avoid jargon as much as possible. If you must use technical terms related to your specialization, define them as early as possible in your proposal. Think of how you might prepare yourself for ACLS's peer review audience. We recommend testing your draft proposal with a sample audience. Could a colleague, perhaps from another department or field, read and give feedback on the clarity of your proposal? Finally, apply well in advance of the deadline. The application deadline for the ACLS Fellowship Program is on September 17 at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. If you have applied before, you know that this is an earlier deadline, so please take note of that. ACLS encourages applicants to apply well before the hour of the deadline, though, in case you run into any technical issues or gaps in internet access. Unfortunately, given the rapid nature of the peer review process that begins right after the deadline, we cannot make exceptions to our published application deadline, and we will not accept late submissions. Our online application system is nimble, but if you run into any issues, we encourage you to use the help feature within the system to contact ACLS for technical assistance. Should you have any questions after reading our call for applications or FAQ pages, please contact us at fellowships@acls.org. Thank you for joining us for this information session, On behalf of all of us at ACLS, we wish you the best of luck on your application.